History, as we know, it might be a broken remnant of a forgotten world. Ancient ruins scattered across our planet are not random monuments, but pieces of a single, global puzzle. This journey will reveal 25 of these enigmatic sites that challenge everything we think we know about our past. By the end, you will see the world's ancient history not as separate stories, but as one interconnected narrative. We will explore why a temple in Turkey predates the pyramids by millennia, and how a submerged city in India confirms ancient legends. What if a sophisticated civilization with advanced knowledge existed long before recorded history began? What does the evidence we uncover today say about the true origins of human achievement? A lone shepherd in Turkey had no idea his wandering flock stood atop a buried revolution. The hillock known as Göbekli Tepe was not a natural formation, but a man-made mountain of mystery constructed over 11,000 years ago. That is 6,000 years older than Stonehenge, and a staggering 7 millennia before the Great Pyramid of Giza was even a thought. What his flock stumbled upon were the tops of immense T-shaped pillars, each weighing many tons, arranged into vast, deliberate stone circles. These are not crude piles of rock. They are masterpieces of prehistoric engineering, covered in intricate carvings of animals, from foxes and scorpions to swooping birds. Archaeologist Klaus Schmidt called it the world's first temple, a sacred space built not by settled farmers, but by nomadic hunter-gatherers. This single fact shatters the established story of human progress, which claims that complex society, religion, and monumental architecture could only emerge after the invention of agriculture. Göbekli Tepe turns that logic entirely on its head. The people who built this place possessed a sophisticated understanding of stonework, a shared symbolic language, and a clear knowledge of the stars, as many pillars align with celestial bodies. So who were these master builders of the pre-pottery Neolithic age? What unified knowledge allowed them to conceive and execute such a grand project, only to deliberately bury it under tons of earth for safekeeping thousands of years later? The implications are staggering, suggesting a lost chapter of human history where advanced knowledge was not just possible, but was being used to reshape the very world. As we pull our gaze from this Anatolian sanctuary, another mystery calls from across the globe, this one submerged beneath the waves off the western coast of India. Deep beneath the sands of Abydos, a structure defies the very timeline of ancient Egypt. The Osireion, often credited to Pharaoh Seti I, feels alien compared to the elegant temples and tombs we associate with his reign. This is not a place of hieroglyphs and painted reliefs. It is a subterranean world of raw cyclopean power, built with colossal granite blocks that would challenge modern engineering. At its heart lies a central island, surrounded by a moat of murky, perennial groundwater, a feature that has baffled archaeologists since its rediscovery. The stonework here is the true enigma. The massive blocks are fitted together with joints so impossibly tight that not even a razor blade can slide between them. This is not the style of dynastic Egypt, but it is a fingerprint we have seen before, a signature of megalithic mastery found in distant corners of the world. Egyptologist Margaret Murray saw this anomaly clearly, proposing that the Osireion was not built by Seti, but merely rediscovered and adopted by him. She believed it was a surviving relic from the time of the Shemsu-Hor, the mysterious followers of Horus, a race of pre-dynastic rulers spoken of in myth. Was this flooded chamber a symbolic tomb for the god Osiris, or was it something far more functional? Some researchers point to its unique design and the constant presence of water, speculating it could have been an ancient energy device or a precise astronomical instrument, its original purpose lost to the rising waters of time. The Osireion stands as a waterlogged question mark, a testament to a building prowess that simply does not fit its official historical box. From this sunken enigma in the desert, our search for a lost global culture takes us to a place where stone seems to float on air. High in the Peruvian Andes, the citadel of Sacsayhuamán perches above the old Inca capital of Cusco, a fortress of staggering, gravity-defying masonry. These stone walls curve and weave across the hillside like a colossal serpent, a defensive structure so formidable that conquistadors believed it was the work of giants. Sacsayhuamán is not merely a fortress, it is a symphony in stone, composed of limestone blocks so immense that their transportation and placement remain an unsolved puzzle. Each stone is a unique piece of an impossible jigsaw, carved with angles and curves that lock perfectly with its neighbors, leaving not a sliver of space for mortar. This polygonal masonry creates a wall that is not rigid but fluid and alive, able to sway and settle during the violent earthquakes that frequently shake the Andes. The Spanish chronicler Garcilaso de la Vega, who saw the site in its near-complete state, confessed that it was impossible to understand how the Incas, without iron tools or the wheel, could have quarried, shaped, and lifted these 100-ton behemoths. The perfection is too absolute, the knowledge too complete. This has led many to a startling conclusion. The Incas may have been the inheritors, not the original architects. They found these colossal foundations, perhaps built by a people known in local legend as the Viracochas, and constructed their own impressive buildings atop them. The true mystery of Sacsayhuamán is not just its construction, but the identity of the master builders who first conceived of an architecture that could dance with the earth itself. From this Andean citadel of living stone, our search for a lost world carries us across the vast Pacific Ocean to an isolated island where silent, stoic giants keep their secrets close. Their massive stone heads have become icons of isolation, yet their true story lies buried. On Easter Island, the Moai are far more than just faces gazing inland. These towering figures, carved from the volcanic rock of the Rano-Raraku quarry, are complete bodies with long torsos and delicate hands resting on their hips, all hidden for centuries beneath the soil. The conventional story tells us the Rapa Nui people erected them as sacred ancestors, but the sheer mechanics of their creation defy simple explanation. How did a population, which some estimates place at only a few thousand, manage to carve nearly 1,000 of these statues, some weighing as much as 270 tons? How were they moved miles across the island without the wheel, without large animals, and on a landscape littered with sharp volcanic rock? The answer might be in the roads themselves. Researchers found the paths leading from the quarry are not flat, but subtly sunken and lined with prepared surfaces, suggesting a coordinated, sophisticated method of transportation that we are only beginning to understand. This was not a haphazard effort. It was a society-wide project requiring a deep, shared knowledge of engineering, logistics, and social organization. This level of sophistication on the most remote inhabited island on Earth forces a difficult question. Was this knowledge developed entirely in isolation, a brilliant but fleeting flame that eventually flickered out? Or does it represent the enduring legacy of a much older, perhaps even global, seafaring culture that once connected the most distant corners of our world? The silent Moai, with their buried secrets, stand as a testament to a lost chapter of human endeavor. Our journey now carries us from the vast Pacific to the heart of the Mediterranean Sea, to to a megalithic complex so ancient it makes the pyramids look like recent arrivals. Beneath the quiet streets of modern Malta lies a world turned inside out. The Hypogeum of Saflieni is not a building constructed from the ground up, but a sanctuary meticulously carved downward into the living limestone, a negative space of profound spiritual power. Dating back to around 4000 BCE, this subterranean labyrinth descends for 3 distinct levels, a multi-story complex of chambers, halls, and passages that served as both a collective tomb and a ceremonial heart. Its architecture is a direct echo of the massive stone temples that stood above ground on the Maltese islands, complete with carved ceiling beams that mimic wooden construction and red ochre spirals that swirl across the walls. This was a place where the boundary between the world of the living and the realm of the ancestors was intentionally blurred, but its true mystery is not just in its scale, but in its sound. Deep within the complex lies the Oracle Room, a small chamber whose architecture is a masterpiece of acoustic engineering. A low voice spoken into a specific niche in the wall is not merely echoed but transformed. The sound is amplified and projected throughout the entire Hypogeum, vibrating through the very stone with a deep, resonant frequency that seems to penetrate the bones. This is not a random acoustic fluke. The chamber was clearly carved to produce this specific effect, a feat that would require a sophisticated understanding of sound waves and their interaction with stone. Researchers like Graham Hancock argue this was a technology of consciousness, a way to use resonant frequencies to alter brainwave patterns and induce trance-like states during rituals. The coordinated labor to carve this 3-level complex, spanning many centuries, using only simple stone and antler tools, points to a society with a unified vision and a startlingly advanced knowledge base. The Hypogeum stands as a silent, echoing monument to a people who mastered the very fabric of their world, both stone and sound, for a purpose we can only begin to fathom. From this resonant chamber beneath the Mediterranean, our search for a lost global culture carries us across the Atlantic Ocean to a city that was already a magnificent ruin when the Aztecs first laid eyes upon it. The silent avenues of Teotihuacan hold a mystery as profound as any we have encountered. Known as the Avenue of the Dead, this grand thoroughfare cuts a precise path through the ancient metropolis, directing the eye toward the staggering masses of the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon. Yet, for all its majesty, the city is a ghost. We do not know what its founders called it, nor do we know who they were. By the time the Aztecs wandered into this valley centuries after its abandonment, they were so awestruck they believed they had found the very place where the gods conceived the universe. They gave it the name we use today, Teotihuacan, the city where men became gods. At its peak around the year 450, it was a bustling hub for over 100,000 people, one of the largest cities on the entire planet. But its true genius is not in its size but in its design. The entire urban plan is a mirror of the heavens, a massive terrestrial map of the cosmos. The layout of its 3 great pyramids aligns with the stars of the Pleiades cluster, while the Avenue of the Dead itself is oriented with such astronomical precision that it marks the cyclical path of the sun. This was not a city built by guesswork. It was a celestial engine conceived by minds with a deep, enduring knowledge of the stars. Then there are the materials. Deep within the Pyramid of the Sun, builders sandwiched a thick layer of mica, a complex mineral known for its remarkable ability to resist heat and electricity. Why was this sophisticated insulator placed inside a monumental pyramid? Farther along, beneath the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, archaeologists discovered pools of shimmering liquid mercury, a substance incredibly rare and difficult to produce in the ancient world. These are not typical construction materials. They hint at a purpose we have yet to fully grasp, perhaps related to energy, ritual, or a technology we no longer understand. The official story tells us an unknown culture built Teotihuacan and then vanished, but the city's scale, its celestial alignment, and its use of advanced materials suggest something far more significant. This may be the legacy of a pan-Mesoamerican civilization, a culture whose roots tap into a much older, global tradition of knowledge. The silent pyramids of Teotihuacan are not just tombs or temples. They are a question posed in stone, challenging us to uncover the identity of the visionary planners who mapped the heavens onto the earth. From this mysterious Mexican plateau, our path leads deep into the jungles of Cambodia, where a different kind of celestial temple awaits. Rising from the Cambodian jungle, the sheer scale of Angkor Wat is almost incomprehensible. It is the largest religious complex ever built, a sprawling stone city originally consecrated to the Hindu god Vishnu. Yet its grandeur hides a deeper, more celestial secret. The entire layout of the Angkor complex, with its vast temples and intricate network of reservoirs, is not a random arrangement. It is a precise, massive-scale map of the night sky. Researchers, including Graham Hancock, have demonstrated that the positions of the main temples correspond exactly with the stars of the constellation Draco. But this is not the sky as it appeared in the 12th century when the temple was officially constructed. The alignment is a perfect match for the Draco constellation, as it would have looked in the heavens 10,500 years before the Common Era. This date, a staggering 11,000 years before the present, places the blueprint for Angkor Wat deep within the same mysterious epoch as Göbekli Tepe. How could 12th century builders have known the precise configuration of stars from a time so remote? The implication is that they were not the original designers of this cosmic plan. They were working from an ancient, pre-existing star map, a sacred blueprint preserved and passed down through countless generations. This was not merely architecture, it was an act of celestial remembrance. Even the intricate stone carvings hold baffling anomalies. Alongside the expected depictions of gods and mythical beasts, one can find a detailed bas-relief that looks unmistakably like a stegosaurus. Is this merely a fanciful artist's rendering of a lizard with decorative plates, or could it be a glimpse of knowledge, a memory of creatures that walked the earth millions of years ago, preserved in a forgotten legacy? Beyond the stars and the stones, the logistical mastery of Angkor Wat is itself a testament to a lost science. Building this metropolis in a dense jungle required a water management system of unparalleled complexity, with canals and reservoirs that controlled the monsoon's fury and supported a vast population. The coordination of labor, the precision of the engineering, and the celestial knowledge embedded in its design all point to a singular conclusion. Angkor Wat may be a magnificent, latter-day reconstruction, a final, glorious iteration of a sacred geography concept known to a much older, global civilization. From this jungle temple mapped to the stars, our search leads us to the shores of the Mediterranean, to a city whose very stones whisper of a forgotten age of giants. The Roman conquerors who built the Temple of Jupiter at Baalbek were merely the latest to claim a site of unimaginable antiquity. Their grand columns and ornate carvings rest upon a foundation that humbles their own achievements, a platform of stones so colossal they seem to belong to the realm of myth. Known as the Trilithon, 3 of these foundation blocks are each estimated to weigh over 800 tons. To put that into perspective, that is the weight of 2 fully loaded Boeing 747 jets or 3 adult blue whales. The Romans, masters of engineering, left us detailed records of their methods, yet they offer no explanation for how these specific monoliths were quarried from a site over a mile away, transported across a valley, and then lifted over 20 feet into the air to be fitted with a precision that leaves no room for mortar. Their own technology, while advanced, simply does not account for such a feat. The truth appears to lie deeper, literally beneath their feet. Below the Roman ruins are even older foundations, characterized by a style of Cyclopean masonry, built with gargantuan stones that fit together like a perfect, seamless puzzle. This is the fingerprint of a far more ancient civilization, one for whom moving 1,000-ton blocks was not an impossibility, but a standard practice. Local legends do not speak of Romans, but of a race of giants known as the El Jasasa, or of a pre-flood civilization instructed by supernatural beings to construct a platform that would survive a global cataclysm. This is a narrative we hear echoed at sacred sites across the world, from the Andes to the Egyptian desert. The builders of this original foundation also possessed a profound knowledge of the heavens. The entire complex is aligned with the solstitial sunrises, turning the platform into a giant astronomical calendar. The precision of the stone cutting, with its complex angles and perfect joints, speaks of a sophisticated understanding of geometry and engineering that rivals our own. Baalbek's foundation is not just a ruin, it is a monumental question posed in stone, a direct challenge to our linear story of human progress. Who were these master builders whose legacy even the mighty Romans could only imitate but never truly comprehend? Our search for their lost world now plunges beneath the waves of the Indian Ocean, where the ruins of an entire city guard their secrets in the deep. The waves that now cover the legendary city of Dwarka hide more than just sand and sea creatures. For centuries, the story of Krishna's magnificent capital was considered pure myth, a fantastical tale from the epic Mahabharata of a city that shone with gold and jewels before being consumed by the ocean. Then marine archaeologists began to find it. Off the coast of modern Gujarat, in the Gulf of Combat, sonar scans revealed the ghostly outlines of a vast submerged settlement. Stone walls, geometric platforms, and pillars lay scattered across the seafloor, the unmistakable ruins of a planned urban center. The artifacts brought up from the murky depths, including pottery and construction materials, have been dated to a staggering 7,500 years before the Common Era. This places the city's existence firmly in a time when, according to conventional history, humans were supposed to be simple, nomadic tribes. But here was evidence of a society advanced enough to build a sophisticated harbor, one capable of supporting a maritime trade network. This was not a primitive village. The layout suggests a city built with intention and engineering knowledge, a place designed for commerce and community. The discovery of Dwarka forces a profound question. Were the ancient texts not myths at all, but rather preserved memories of a real, advanced civilization that thrived during the last ice age? If so, the stories of a great city sinking beneath the waves could be a literal record of rising sea levels at the end of that glacial period. Dwarka stands as a tangible, underwater bridge, connecting our world to a forgotten epoch of seafarers and city builders. From this sunken metropolis in India, our search for a lost global culture surfaces on the other side of Asia, in the waters off the coast of Japan. Beneath the clear waters off Japan's Yonaguni Island, the ocean floor gives way to a structure that defies easy explanation. This is the Yonaguni Monument, a massive formation of sandstone that rises like a sunken ziggurat from the abyss. Its terraces are unnaturally flat, its corners sharp and precise, forming what look unmistakably like steps, platforms, and wide avenues. Marine geologist Professor Masaki Kimura has spent decades studying the site, and he points to features that seem to have no place in a natural landscape. He identifies a star-shaped platform, what appears to be a ceremonial gateway, and even a triangular pool carved with clean, right-angled edges. The central argument against this being a natural formation lies in that very geometry. Sandstone typically erodes in rounded, irregular shapes, not in the clean, 90-degree angles and parallel surfaces found here. Adding to the mystery are what some interpret as a carved human face on one wall and ancient glyphs etched into the stone. If this complex is indeed the work of human hands, its construction timeline is even more staggering. For it to have been built on dry land, the sea levels would have had to be dramatically lower, placing its creation at the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 years before the Common Era. This is the same mysterious epoch that gave us Göbekli Tepe. Skeptics maintain that the entire structure is a fantastic geological fluke, a result of intense undersea currents and the natural fracturing of the rock. Yet the sheer accumulation of seemingly architectural elements in one location challenges that simple dismissal. The Yonaguni Monument, whether a masterpiece of nature or of a lost human culture, forces a profound reconsideration of the ancient Pacific. It fuels the enduring legends of lost continents like Mu or Lemuria, vast swaths of land that supposedly sank beneath the waves, taking entire civilizations with them. This underwater enigma does not offer easy answers, but it powerfully invites us to redraw the map of the prehistoric world. Our search for this lost world now carries us from the depths of the Pacific to the high plains of South America, where a solitary gate to the gods stands against the sky. High in the Bolivian Andes, the wind whispers through the ruins of Tiwanaku, a city that feels built for giants. At its heart stands the Gate of the Sun, a single, monumental archway carved from a single block of andesite stone weighing 10 tons. Its surface is a tapestry in stone dominated by a central, imposing figure often identified as the staff god, whose tears are said to be the rains that give life. Radiating from this central deity are rows of winged beings, part human and part bird, all frozen in a procession of eternal flight. To the untrained eye, it is a masterpiece of ancient art. But to those who study its symbols, it is something far more profound, a complex and precise calendar etched in rock. The Austrian engineer Arthur Pesnansky dedicated his life to studying Tiwanaku, and his conclusions were revolutionary. He proposed that the alignments of the city's primary structures, calibrated with the Gate of the Sun, were based on an astronomical observation of the Earth's axial tilt from an impossible era, over 17,000 years ago. This claim, if even partially correct, would shatter our timeline, placing Tiwanaku's foundational knowledge in a prehistoric ice age. The artistic style itself is an anomaly. The rigid, geometric forms and the specific symbolism of the staff god do not neatly fit with what we know of the later Tiwanaku culture, let alone the Incas who came millennia after. It feels like an artifact from a different world, a relic of a much older, global tradition of knowledge that encoded cosmic principles into stone. The gate is more than a calendar. It is a stone testament to a forgotten understanding of time, astronomy, and perhaps humanity's place in the cosmos. Our journey now descends from these high Andean plains into the dense, green heart of the Amazon, where the very earth itself has been shaped into a mystery. Deep within the emerald heart of the Amazon, the jungle floor holds a secret it has kept for millennia. Recent advances in LiDAR technology, which uses lasers to map the ground through the dense canopy, have peeled back the green veil to reveal a stunning truth. Etched into the earth are hundreds of massive geometric earthworks, perfect squares, circles, and lines stretching across the basin in Brazil and Bolivia. Some of these formations are colossal, spanning over 250 meters in diameter, forming patterns so vast they can only be comprehended from the air. For centuries, the prevailing belief was that the Amazon was a pristine wilderness, home only to small, nomadic tribal groups. These geoglyphs, dating back more than 2,000 years, shatter that myth entirely. Their sheer scale and impeccable precision speak of a complex, organized society capable of mobilizing a massive labor force for a single, monumental purpose. This was not random digging, it was landscape engineering on an epic scale. Researchers like Marty Persinen propose these were sacred ceremonial centers, potentially aligned with the sun and stars, built by a previously unknown civilization that mastered its challenging environment. The very existence of such sophisticated works in a region long considered inhospitable for large populations forces a dramatic rewrite of the history of the Americas. It suggests a continent interconnected by a network of advanced cultures, a network that may have itself been a branch of a much older, global tradition of knowledge. The Amazon's hidden patterns reveal a history written not in stone, but in the very soil, a testament to a lost world that shaped the land itself. From these earthen wonders of South America, a similar mystery calls from the plains of southern Africa, where a circle of ancient stones stands in silent competition with its famous European cousins. Far out in the desolate expanse of the Nubian desert, a circle of weathered stones stands as a silent monument to a forgotten genius. This is Nabta Playa, a site so ancient it makes Stonehenge seem like a recent imitation, predating the famous British Circle by over 1,000 years. Around 5,000 years before the Common Era, a society that revered cattle arranged these megaliths with a purpose that was anything but primitive. They were not just marking a sacred space, they were building a sophisticated astronomical observatory. The central stones align perfectly with the rising sun of the summer solstice, while other carefully placed monoliths track the movements of key stars like Sirius and Orion's belt. This was more than simple stargazing. It was a complex calendar carved into the desert floor, allowing its creators to predict the coming of the vital monsoon rains with stunning accuracy. This level of precision required not only generations of meticulous observation, but also a formalized system for recording and passing that knowledge down. The people of Nabta Playa were far from the simple nomads we might imagine. Evidence shows they engaged in early cattle domestication and constructed deep, complex wells, proving they were a settled, organized community capable of specialized labor and long-term planning. They possessed a shared, sophisticated knowledge of the heavens that allowed them to thrive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Nabta Playa shatters the long-held, Eurocentric narrative that advanced astronomy was born solely in Mesopotamia or Europe. Here, in the heart of Africa, a brilliant culture was mapping the cosmos and mastering time itself, contemporaneously with, or even before, similar developments elsewhere. This site is a powerful testament to a pan-African ingenuity that likely fed into a wider, global reservoir of ancient science. Our search for the connections in this lost world now carries us across the ocean to a solitary island that rises mysteriously from the mid-Atlantic. The crystal-clear waters of the Bahamas hide a pathway to nowhere. Just off the coast of North Bimini Island, the seafloor is dominated by the Bimini Road, a stunning formation of massive, rectangular limestone blocks laid out in a perfect straight line that runs for more than half a mile. Discovered in 1968, this submerged avenue immediately ignited a firestorm of debate. Mainstream geologists argue it is a classic example of beak rock, a natural phenomenon where sediment cements into blocks that fracture along straight lines. They say nature is a capable mimic, yet other researchers like archaeologist William Donato point to evidence that challenges this simple explanation. The blocks are not just randomly fractured, they are arranged in a deliberate, purposeful path. Some appear to be stacked atop one another in clear layers, a feature not typical of natural beach rock. Even more compelling are what some investigators identify as tool marks on the stones, suggesting they were shaped and placed by intelligent hands. If this is truly a man-made structure, its construction timeline becomes the central mystery. For it to have been built on dry land, the sea levels would have had to be dramatically lower. This places its origin at the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 years ago, directly connecting it to the same submerged epoch as Dwarka and Yonaguni. The mystery deepened with the predictions of Edgar Cayce, the famous psychic who, decades before its discovery, stated that a portion of the lost continent of Atlantis would rise again near Bimini. This prophecy fueled intense speculation that the road is a remnant of that fabled civilization, a sunken highway leading to a forgotten world. Whether it is a geological marvel or the ruins of a sophisticated harbor, the Bimini Road powerfully invites us to consider the possibility of advanced transoceanic travel in a forgotten chapter of human history. This notion of a lost North American past finds a powerful echo far to the north, in the mysterious woodlands of New England. Across the Mississippi River, a city of earth once rivaled any in the world. The Cahokia Mounds, with their colossal centerpiece Monk's Mound, form a landscape of staggering ambition. The base of this immense earthen pyramid covers more ground than the Great Pyramid of Giza, a monument built not of quarried stone, but of countless baskets of soil, painstakingly piled high by hand. At its zenith around the year 1050, this was the beating heart of a metropolis teeming with up to 20,000 people, a bustling hub of artisans, traders, and priests that dwarfed London at the same point in history. This was not a scattered village. It was a master-planned city with a central grand plaza precisely aligned to the cardinal directions, its layout reflecting a deep understanding of solar cycles and cosmic order. The sophistication extended to a structure now called Woodhenge, a vast circle of towering wooden posts that functioned as a precise astronomical calendar. The posts marked the solstices and equinoxes, allowing the city's rulers, or perhaps its priests, to dictate the rhythm of life, from planting seasons to sacred ceremonies. Evidence of copper working, imported from the Great Lakes region, points to a far-reaching trade network and a society with specialized crafts. Then, just a few centuries after its rise, the city was abandoned. The Grand Plaza fell silent, and the mounds were reclaimed by the prairie. Why did this thriving civilization collapse? Was it resource depletion, social upheaval, or a dramatic shift in climate? The mystery of its abandonment is as profound as the achievement of its creation. Cahokia stands as undeniable proof that North America was home to a complex, indigenous civilization whose urban and astronomical knowledge challenges any simplistic narrative of a vacant wilderness. This great city of the Mississippi Valley forces us to reconsider the entire tapestry of the ancient Americas. From this lost metropolis of Earth, our search for a global connection plunges us into a moment of frozen time, to a city preserved by one of history's most infamous volcanic cataclysms. The sheer weight of the stones at Mycenae is a statement in itself. These are not mere walls, but fortifications built from limestone boulders so colossal that the classical Greeks who came centuries later could not fathom their human origin. They looked upon the citadel of the legendary King Agamemnon and concluded that only the one-eyed giants of myth, the Cyclopes, could have been responsible. This is the origin of the term Cyclopean masonry, a style defined by gigantic, irregular blocks, often weighing many tons, fitted together with astonishing precision and without a drop of mortar. The imposing Lion Gate is the ultimate expression of this power, its massive lintel stone capped by a relieving triangle adorned with two lionesses flanking a central pillar, a heraldic symbol of a ruling dynasty lost to time. Yet the true mystery is not confined to this single Greek citadel. This identical architectural fingerprint appears across the globe in the polygonal walls of Sacsayhuaman, the foundational stones of the Osireion in Egypt, and in remote Italian sites. How do we explain this uniformity? The use of such a specific, complex building technique, employing irregularly shaped multi-ton blocks locked together to form earthquake-resistant structures, appearing independently in cultures separated by vast oceans and millennia. It defies the logic of parallel development. The provocative implication is that of a common teacher, a shared source of advanced engineering knowledge that was disseminated to disparate corners of the ancient world. The walls of Mycenae, therefore, are more than just a Bronze Age fortress. They are a fragment of a global architectural language, a silent witness to a forgotten chapter where the builders of the world seem to be working from the same impossible blueprint. This thread of a lost global connection pulls us eastward, to a remote valley in Pakistan where the ruins of an entire metropolis defy the expected narrative of human civilization. The ruins of Mohenjo-Daro rise from the plains of Pakistan not as a monument to a king, but as a testament to an entire society. This was the heart of the Indus Valley civilization, a metropolis so meticulously planned it feels modern. Its streets run in a perfect grid. Its buildings were constructed from standardized, kiln-fired bricks, and beneath them lay one of the ancient world's most sophisticated drainage systems, with covered sewers and individual household bathrooms. This was urban life perfected over 4,000 years ago, yet the city holds a profound mystery. There are no grand palaces, no towering temples, no colossal statues glorifying a pharaoh or emperor. The greatest structures unearthed are a massive public bathhouse and a granary. This suggests a society that was startlingly egalitarian, organized around collective well-being and civic duty rather than the ego of a single ruler. Its centralized authority, evident in the uniform weights and measures found across the region, seemed focused on practical governance, not divine kingship. Then, around 1900 BCE, this model civilization collapsed. The city was abandoned, its end so swift that archaeologists have found skeletons in the streets, as if people were struck down mid-action. This sudden demise, combined with the fact that their written script remains completely undeciphered, has fueled intense speculation. Some point to unusual levels of radioactivity and vitrified stone, proposing the fantastical theory of an ancient nuclear explosion, a claim that mainstream science vigorously disputes. The true cause was likely more mundane, perhaps a shift in the river course or climatic change, but the abrupt silence is deafening. Mohenjo-Daro did not evolve slowly into complexity. It appeared in the archaeological record almost fully formed. This sudden emergence of a complete urban blueprint hints at a frightening possibility. What if this was not an isolated invention, but the implementation of a pre-existing model, a template for civilization developed somewhere else by a culture now lost to time? This great city presents a vision of society so advanced in its organization, it feels like an echo from a wider, interconnected ancient world. Our journey now carries us to the Far East, where a terracotta army guards a secret. The silent, unexcavated tomb mound of China's first emperor holds a secret far grander than his famous terracotta legion. While the thousands of clay soldiers are a marvel, they are merely the outer guardians of a subterranean world that has remained sealed for over 2,000 years. Ancient historian Sima Qian provided a tantalizing description of the main tomb, a description that modern science is beginning to verify. He wrote of a massive underground palace, its ceiling inlaid with pearls to mimic the stars of the night sky, and a scale model of the emperor's entire kingdom laid out below, complete with rivers and oceans of shimmering, toxic mercury, flowing by some mechanical means through the landscape. This was not pure fantasy. Modern geological surveys of the massive pyramid-shaped mound have detected extraordinarily high concentrations of mercury in the soil, concentrations far beyond any natural background level. The correspondence is too precise to dismiss. This suggests the ancient texts were recording a factual, technological achievement, not just a symbolic myth. The emperor's infamous quest for immortality drove him to consolidate all knowledge from the warring states he conquered. He sought out and preserved ancient texts, alchemical recipes, and architectural secrets, effectively gathering the scattered wisdom of older cultures that preceded him. Was he merely an innovative tyrant, or was he the culmination of a much older tradition, an inheritor of a legacy he was desperate to restore and possess for himself? The logistics of the tomb's construction are a civilization-scale project in their own right. Historical records state that over 700,000 conscripted laborers worked for decades to build this necropolis. This command of manpower and resources for a single, secretive project seems to push the boundaries of what was possible in the 3rd century before the Common Era. The unopened pyramid mound of Qin Shi Huang is therefore more than an imperial tomb. It is a locked vault, potentially preserving not just the treasures of a unified China, but the physical evidence of a pre-existing science, a global legacy of knowledge about chemistry, engineering, and perhaps even the cosmos that the first emperor sought to take with him into eternity. From this sealed pyramid in the east, our search for a connected ancient world returns to the Americas, to a city whose very walls seem to writhe with serpentine power. The Great Serpent Mound uncoils across the Ohio landscape for over 1,300 feet, a silent, earthen leviathan frozen in time. It is the largest effigy mound on the planet, a work of art so vast its true form can only be comprehended from the air. For generations, archaeologists credited its construction to the Adena culture around 300 years before the Common Era. Yet more recent radiocarbon dating points to a different people, the Fort Ancient culture, who may have shaped this serpent nearly 1,000 years later, around 1070. This discrepancy in its origin only deepens the mystery, suggesting the site was so sacred it was maintained, and perhaps even re-sculpted by completely different cultures across millennia. Its purpose is written in the sky. The serpent's gaping jaws align precisely with the setting sun of the summer solstice, while its gracefully curved body and coiled tail are thought to point toward the solstice sunrises and the most extreme rising points of the moon. This was not a simple calendar, but a sophisticated, multi-function astronomical observatory built from soil and stone. The symbolism resonates with a power that echoes across the globe. The serpent is a universal archetype, a creature of creation and cosmic knowledge found in the myths of the Maya, the gods of Mesopotamia, the Dreamtime stories of Aboriginal Australia, and the Nagas of India. Here, in the heart of North America, that shared symbol is rendered on a monumental scale. This is more than a local wonder, it is a profound clue. The Great Serpent Mound stands as a potential node in a worldwide network of sacred geography, a place where earth and sky and a universal mythos converged for cultures who should have had no contact with one another. Our search for this interconnected world now carries us across the Atlantic, to a wind-swept archipelago where a stone village was already ancient when the first pyramid was laid in the sands of Egypt. A violent storm tore the grass from a Scottish dune in 1850, revealing a village frozen in time. Skara Brae on the Orkney Islands had been perfectly preserved under a blanket of sand for nearly 5,000 years. This is not a collection of crude huts, but a sophisticated stone-built village, older than both Stonehenge and the pyramids of Giza. Walking through its remains is like stepping directly into a Stone Age home. The houses are connected by low, covered passageways, offering shelter from the fierce North Atlantic winds. Inside, the stone furniture remains intact, with built-in beds that would have been filled with heather and animal skins, stone dressers that likely held prized possessions, and even small tanks in the floor that may have been used to keep limpets fresh, a clever form of refrigeration. Most astonishing is the evidence of a village-wide drainage system, a clear sign of communal planning and a desire for comfort and sanitation. This was not a people merely surviving, they were living in an organized, comfortable society. The level of preservation is so complete it feels less like an archaeological site and more like the inhabitants just stepped out for a moment. This incredible snapshot forces a difficult question. Was Skara Brae a brilliant but isolated fluke, a single community that developed these advanced living standards on its own? Or does it point to a much wider North Atlantic cultural sphere, a network of communities sharing knowledge of architecture, stoneworking, and social organization across the sea? The village's sophistication, set against its remote location, suggests its builders were not primitive pioneers, but part of a lost tradition of cooperation and innovation. Their comfortable, communal life hints at a forgotten chapter of human history where society was organized around collective well-being long before the rise of kings and empires. From this wind-swept northern village, our search for a connected ancient world takes us to a city whose power was already legendary before the birth of Abraham. The walls of Jericho did not fall once, but were raised again and again across millennia. In the shadow of the modern city lies Tel-e-Sultan, a mound that holds the ruins of one of humanity's very first experiments in urban living. Its origins stretch back to around 9,000 years before the Common Era, a time when most of humanity was still nomadic. Yet here, a society coalesced and built for the ages. They raised a massive stone wall, over 10 feet thick in places, encircling their settlement. But the true enigma is what stands within that wall. A colossal stone tower rises over 28 feet into the air, a spiraling staircase carved into its core leading to a long-vanished summit. This is not a later addition. It is a Neolithic masterpiece contemporary with the earliest settlements, and its purpose echoes through time as a profound mystery. Was it a watchtower for defense, gazing out over the lush Jordan Valley? Was it a protective barrier against catastrophic floods, a story that resonates with ancient deluge myths from across the region? Or was its true function written in the stars, an astronomical platform for tracking the cycles of the sun and moon? The sheer labor involved speaks of a society with a clear hierarchy and a unified vision, capable of organizing a workforce to quarry, transport, and lift immense stones for a communal project. This was not a village of simple hunter-gatherers. Jericho presents undeniable evidence of a sophisticated, sedentary society emerging in the Levant, a culture with architects, planners, and a shared spiritual or practical goal that demanded monumental expression. The stones of Jericho whisper of a forgotten dawn, a time when the first sparks of urban civilization were igniting simultaneously in distant lands, from the stone circles of Göbekli Tepe to the towering walls of this oasis city. It suggests a web of early connections where ideas about society, architecture, and the cosmos were being exchanged along ancient trade routes. As the legacy of Jericho's first builders faded into the dust, a very different mystery was taking shape far out in the Atlantic Ocean, on the sun-scorched slopes of the Canary Islands. Here, a lost culture built mysterious step pyramids that mirror forms found across the globe. The sun-scorched slopes of Tenerife hold 6 silent, geometric mountains. The pyramids of Guama are not the towering peaks of Giza, but rather 6 rectangular, step-sided structures meticulously built from rough lava stone, assembled without a single drop of mortar. For a long time, they were dismissed as nothing more than 19th-century stone piles, mere clearance heaps left by farmers preparing their fields. Yet their design tells a different, more compelling story. The stairways of every single pyramid are aligned to catch the first light of the summer solstice sunrise, a precise astronomical orientation that no simple agricultural accident could ever produce. The explorer Thor Heyerdahl, famed for his Kon-Tiki voyage, championed the idea that these were sacred structures of the indigenous Guanches, a mysterious, tall, fair-haired people who inhabited the Canary Islands long before Spanish conquest. The origins of the Guanches are themselves a profound puzzle, isolated on their Atlantic islands with no clear link to the mainland. The presence of these sophisticated pyramids, with their clean right angles and deliberate celestial alignments, suggests these islanders possessed a knowledge system that transcended their isolation. This step pyramid form is a ghost that haunts the ancient world. We see it in the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, in the towering temples of ancient Mesopotamia, and most famously in the grand structures of Mesoamerica. To find this same archetype on a volcanic island in the eastern Atlantic is to find a single, matching piece from 2 different, distant puzzles. It fuels an irresistible line of speculation. Were the Guanches merely brilliant locals, or were they the descendants, or perhaps just one node, of a seafaring culture that traversed the Atlantic, carrying a shared blueprint for sacred architecture that connected the world? The pyramids of Guama stand as a stark, enigmatic landmark on a possible maritime crossroads of a forgotten global civilization. This notion of a world reshaped by water finds a chilling, scientific echo far to the east in the depths of the Black Sea. The dark, anoxic waters of the Black Sea guard a shoreline that should not exist. In 1997, a team of oceanographers mapping the seabed were stunned to find the unmistakable contours of a drowned coastline, complete with submerged river valleys and what appeared to be the rectangular foundations of human structures, all lying over 300 feet beneath the surface. This was not a slow, creeping inundation. The evidence points to a cataclysm of biblical proportions known as the Black Sea Deluge hypothesis. Around 5,600 years before the Common Era, the Black Sea was a vast, isolated freshwater lake, its surface hundreds of feet lower than today. As the last ice age waned, rising global sea levels in the Mediterranean pressed against the natural earthen dam of the Bosporus Strait. That dam finally broke. A colossal, roaring wall of saltwater thundered into the basin below, with a force 200 times greater than Niagara Falls. The lake's level rose catastrophically, perhaps as much as 6 inches per day, swallowing over 60,000 square miles of fertile land in a geological instant. Any farming communities, any villages, any early towns nestled along that lush, original coastline would have been erased from the map in a single, terrifying generation. Could this event be the literal, geological kernel of truth behind the universal flood myths found in over 200 cultures worldwide? The story of Noah's Ark, the Sumerian tale of Utnapishtim, the Greek legend of Deucalion, all speak of a divine warning and a world-destroying deluge. The Black Sea provides a potential ground zero for such a shared, traumatic memory. The search for definitive proof for the stone tools and permanent structures of those lost settlements continues in the challenging, deep water environment. Yet the implications are staggering. If these ruins are found, they would offer tangible evidence of advanced Neolithic societies that thrived on lands now lost to the abyss, a civilization that was not primitive, but sophisticated enough to have its catastrophic end immortalized in myth for millennia. This single event would demonstrate how a regional geological disaster could seed a global story, binding humanity together with a shared narrative of a world lost beneath the waves. From this potential flood epicenter, our search for the origins of these myths leads us inland to a site that may have served as the direct inspiration for one of history's most enduring literary works. Deep beneath the fairy tale landscape of Cappadocia lies a world turned inside out. The underground city of Derinkuyu is not a simple cave network, but a vertical metropolis carved with stunning precision into the soft volcanic rock, a labyrinth descending 18 stories into the earth. This was not a temporary hiding place. It was a fully self-sufficient refuge capable of sustaining up to 20,000 people for months on end. Its architects designed a complete subterranean ecosystem, complete with living quarters, stables for livestock, elaborate food storage rooms, dedicated wineries, and even their own chapels. Ingenious ventilation shafts, some stretching over 175 feet to the surface, provided a constant supply of fresh air to the deepest levels, while secure wells tapped into the groundwater far below. The city's defense was its most chilling feature: massive, wheel-shaped stone doors, each weighing half a ton, that could be rolled across key passages to seal the community off from the world above. While archaeologists traditionally attribute Derinkuyu to Byzantine Christians fleeing persecution, the sheer, breathtaking scale of the excavation raises a profound question. Could the earliest levels be the work of a far more ancient people? Some researchers point to similar, though smaller, Hittite underground structures in the region, suggesting the city's foundations may have been laid over 1,000 years earlier, with later cultures merely expanding a pre-existing sanctuary. This idea of vast underground refuges is not unique to Turkey. It is a ghost that haunts our collective myths. The Celtic tales speak of the Shia, mystical mounds leading to an otherworld beneath the hills. The Hopi legends of the American Southwest describe their ancestors surviving a great world fire by following the ant people into subterranean cities. These are not isolated stories, but echoes of a shared primal memory, a narrative of humanity driven beneath the ground by a common, ancient catastrophe. Derinkuyu stands as a monumental piece of evidence for that memory, a testament to an ingenuity born of necessity, and a powerful clue that our ancestors may have been united not just by culture, but by a shared trauma that forced them to reshape the very underworld. This journey into the earth finds its final echo far to the north, beneath the brooding skies of the Scottish Highlands. The stark, grey monoliths of Callanish rise from the Scottish peat like the bones of the earth itself. On the Isle of Lewis, this cruciform arrangement of standing stones is far older than the Celtic cultures that would later weave legends around them. Erected around 5,000 years ago, its central stone tower stands over 15 feet high, a silent sentinel at the heart of a stone cross, with a chambered tomb nestled within the central circle. While Stonehenge captures the sun, Callanish is a monument to the moon. Its primary alignments are calibrated to track the subtle, 18.6-year cycle of the lunar standstill, a time when the moon reaches its most extreme positions in the sky. Understanding this complex celestial dance requires not a single lifetime of observation, but many, demanding a methodical, long-term recording of data that was passed down with precision through generations. This was not primitive stargazing, it was a sophisticated, scientific engagement with the cosmos. The knowledge encoded here was practical, a grand lunar calendar that would have been essential for timing harvests, organizing society, and navigating the challenging seasons of the North Atlantic. The local legend, which speaks of giants petrified for rejecting Christianity, is a common folklore trope applied to monuments whose true origins were already lost to deep time. The existence of such a precise lunar observatory on this remote island suggests its builders were part of a wider seafaring network, a community that shared astronomical knowledge across the waters, connecting the British Isles to a much broader ancient world. From the Anatolian plateau of Göbekli Tepe to the lunar lines of Kalanish, from the submerged cities of India to the celestial cities of the Americas, a consistent pattern emerges across these 25 enigmatic sites. They are not random, isolated achievements. They are fragments of a single global story, a story of a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, a mastery of monumental engineering, and a shared symbolic language that speaks of a common, forgotten source. The evidence points not to isolated cultures stumbling upon the same ideas, but to an interconnected world where knowledge of the stars, the stones, and the Earth itself was the shared inheritance of a lost chapter in human history. These scattered ruins form a constellation across our planet, a pattern visible only from a great distance of time. The astronomical precision at Nabta Playa in Africa finds its echo in the lunar observatory of Kalanish in Scotland. The same cyclopean masonry that built the foundations of Baalbek in Lebanon was used to construct the serpentine walls of Sacsayhuamán in Peru. This is not a coincidence of parallel development. It is the repetition of a complex architectural and scientific language, spoken by cultures who should have had no knowledge of each other. The evidence of a great flood is written not just in myth, but in stone, submerged beneath the waves from Japan to India. The cities of Dwarka and the Yonaguni Monument stand as silent witnesses to the catastrophic sea level rise that drowned entire coastlines at the end of the last ice age. This was not a local event, but a global cataclysm that could have shattered a connected world into the isolated fragments we study today. Universal symbols bind these fragments together. The serpent, a symbol of cosmic knowledge and cyclical time, appears coiled in the soil of Ohio and carved on the gate of the sun in Bolivia. The pyramid form, a structure that channels celestial energy, rises from the plains of Giza to the islands of the Atlantic and the jungles of Mesoamerica. These are not random choices. They are the shared archetypes of a common heritage, a cultural and mythological root system that predates every known civilization. This collective evidence does not paint a picture of a single, globe-spanning empire, but of something perhaps more profound, a widespread web of knowledge. Imagine different cultures separated by vast oceans, yet connected by a shared understanding of the stars, a common mastery of stone, and a unified vision of humanity's place in the cosmos. They were not one people, but they shared one science. The sheer weight of this interconnected proof forces a fundamental question. It challenges the very bedrock of our history, the linear story of a slow climb from primitivism to civilization. What if that story is wrong? What if civilization is not a ladder we invented, but a cycle we are rediscovering? The nature of this lost world remains the ultimate mystery. Was it a golden age of seafaring explorers who mapped the world and its heavens? Was it a network of temple cultures dedicated to preserving a sacred science? The ruins themselves offer no simple answer, only a silent, monumental challenge to everything we think we know. Our journey across the continents reveals a story written in stone and star alignments. From the sunken roads of Bimini to the lunar stones of Kalanish, these 25 sites are not random anomalies. They are the scattered pieces of a single, global puzzle, each one a testament to a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, engineering, and a shared symbolic language that predates our accepted history. Mainstream archaeology often explains these wonders as isolated triumphs, brilliant but independent flashes of human genius. Yet when we step back and view them as a whole, the evidence points to a far more radical conclusion. The same complex astronomical principles, the same impossible masonry techniques, and the same universal myths of a great flood and a lost golden age appear in cultures separated by oceans and millennia. This is not a coincidence. It is the fingerprint of a forgotten world, a web of interconnected cultures that possessed a common, advanced knowledge base. This is not a search for a literal Atlantis, but a recognition that our ancestors were far more capable and their history far more complex than we have been led to believe. The greatest mystery is not necessarily who they were, but what catastrophic event or series of events caused their vast knowledge to fragment and fade into legend. I invite you to look at the ancient world with fresh eyes, to question the established narrative, and to share your own thoughts on these profound enigmas. If this exploration has reshaped your view of the past, consider joining us for more journeys into history's greatest mysteries. The past is not a closed book, but a story we are only just beginning to read, one astonishing ruin at a time.